Chapter 1346, The Specialness of a Visionary. Mysteries. The last time Klein heard this title was from the consciousness of the true creator that had descended. The penultimate instance was from the ancient sun god from history, the city of Silver's creator. In a sense, the two of them were equal. The true creator was equivalent to the ancient sun god, evil spirit, after retrieving Sasrir's personality. However, unlike before, Klein wasn't flustered when he heard this manner of addressing him. Neither his heart trembled nor his teeth chattered. At this moment, he felt as if he had finally seen a suspended rock fall to the ground. Of course, he wasn't that calm either. To a certain extent, surprise, shock, and disbelief were inevitable. It was because of the words, "Adam isn't necessarily Adam" from Arihog that he had already come up with many speculations and was mentally prepared. We meet again. Mysteries. Adam is equivalent to the ancient sun god, or is this the resurrection contingency of the ancient sun god? He knows of this, but he still wishes to revive his father, so that's why Medici calls him a zealot. Thoughts flashed through Klein's mind as he gained a brand new understanding of certain matters. It was no wonder Adam never promoted teachings about himself. He only spread what was left of the ancient sun god. Klein originally believed that this was due to the special trait of a visionary, and how he could use his uniqueness to create a bunch of realistic believers as anchors. This way, he didn't need to build a congregation, but from the looks of it, this was probably only one of the reasons. After 2 seconds of silence, he looked into Adam's pure eyes and said, "You are the ancient sun god." Adam maintained his warm smile and said in an illuminating tone, "Don't you think I'm the most unique among the 8 kings of angels?" After reading the contents of the second blasphemy slate regarding the great old ones, you should be able to clearly understand this point. Indeed. Klein nodded, indicating that he could tell. Of the 5 kings of angels related to omnipotence and omniscience, you are the only one with a uniqueness. According to the mysticism knowledge that Klein currently possessed, when the city of Silver's creator was still alive, the 8 kings of angels were in the same state. Dark Angel Sasrir digested 2 sequence 1 characteristics of the Hanged Man pathway and controlled the first blasphemy slate, allowing him to use a portion of the power of the Chaos Sea. Therefore, he was heaven's deputy, the left hand of God, a king among kings of angels. White Angel Occuses contained 2 sequence 1 characteristics of the sun pathway. Wind Angel Leodero, Angel of Wisdom Harabergen, Angel of Fate Arabaros also possessed 2 sequence 1 Beyonder characteristics of their respective pathways. Angel of Time Ammon, Red Angel Medici were the ones with a uniqueness of their own pathway and a corresponding sequence 1 Beyonder characteristic. Angel of Imagination, Adam had the spectator pathway's uniqueness and 2 sequence 1 Beyonder characteristics. This didn't seem problematic at first glance, but it appeared strange on careful thought. Angel of Time, Ammon, and Red Angel Medici didn't belong to the 5 pathways of omnipotence and omniscience, and there was no problem about the ancient sun god using different methods to give them their uniqueness. However, Adam was different. Visionary belonged to one of the 5 pathways of omnipotence and omniscience, and the corresponding uniqueness was one of the foundations needed by the ancient sun god to become a great old one. In other words, this was equivalent to one of the 3 sequence 1 Beyonder characteristics needed of a sequence 0. How could it be randomly separated? After all, Sasrir, as the deputy of heaven, the left hand of God, didn't obtain the uniqueness of the Hanged Man pathway, much less Wind Angel Leodero, Angel of Wisdom Harabergen, and White Angel Occuses. Klein originally believed that the ancient sun god had sensed the awakening of the primordial one, so he had deliberately used the method of having children to separate one of the 5 uniquenesses from himself, taking the initiative to lower his level to resist the corruption and invasion. This was probably the thoughts of other deities and kings of angels back then. When he heard Arihog say, "Adam isn't necessarily Adam," Klein felt that there might be a deeper secret hidden in this matter and came up with some guesses. After witnessing the last few lines of the second blasphemy slate, he found it even stranger. This was because a uniqueness was one of the foundations of becoming a great old one. If the Sephira was the foundation, then the corresponding uniquenesses were weight-bearing columns. It would be deeply problematic no matter which one was lost. If the ancient sun god wanted to lower his level, the better choice would be to separate the sequence one beyonder characteristics. That would be relatively safer. Dressed in a simple white robe and wearing a thick golden beard, Adam walked to Klein's side and turned around. He looked at the blasphemy slate and said, "A visionary has something very special. Normal sequence zeros are made up of the uniqueness, and 3 sequence 1 beyonder characteristics. Missing any one of them prevents them from being considered a true deity. They can only be considered a king of angels. And after becoming a sequence zero, a visionary is able to split 2 sequence 1 beyonder characteristics and replace the corresponding characteristic via envisioning. The object produced by envisioning is real enough. It can work perfectly under the framework of the uniqueness and a sequence 1 beyonder characteristic, allowing a visionary's level and strength to not decrease. The 2 real separated sequence 1 beyonder characteristics can be combined with one's other identity or a certain life form that S envisioned. It can make them become an author with complete freedom. When necessary, one can use a certain method or some mediums to transform him into the true form. And for the omnipotent and omniscient, he can create a uniqueness that borders between reality and illusory to maintain his state, as long as it doesn't exceed the necessary limitations. This is the relationship between Dragon of Imagination Ankwelt and his child, Dragon of Nightmare Zuhad. I once thought that the seer and marauder pathways were the most bizarre. From the looks of it, they can't compare to a spectator. Sigh, be careful of the spectator. Klein completely resolved the question on his mind. He also understood why Dragon of Imagination Ankwelt had arranged for 008 to meet Grossel's travels. Once they met, 008's quill, which originated from the Dragon of Nightmare Zuhad, would awaken and become the Dragon of Imagination Ankwelt at a lower level. Then, this resurrected ancient god would use the negative persona sealed behind the bronze door to activate the Chaos Sea's power, instantly reaching the level of the strongest king of angels below that of true deities. With such a foundation, he had the chance to compete with Adam for the position of visionary and completely revive. It's simpler, neater, and cleaner compared to the Black Emperor's resurrection. Klein nodded slightly and said, "The relationship between Dragon of Imagination and the Dragon of Nightmare." Adam sat down beside Klein. "Yes." However, the Dragon of Imagination had been corrupted, and he had characteristics of other pathways, putting him in a poor condition. All he could do was separate an author. Otherwise, he would have directly lost control. Klein ignored Adam beside him and looked at the second blasphemy slate in front of him. What's the difference between this and a marauder's avatar? If Ammon can become an error, he, too, can create at least 2 sequence 1 avatars. Adam leaned forward and simply explained, "The avatar and the main body are still the same, but they are located in different areas." Does that mean that the sequence 1 that S envisioned is completely separated from the real body and can be considered another person? Only by using some method or using some medium can one awaken. Klein asked thoughtfully, "You awakened when you became a visionary?" "No." Adam looked straight ahead and replied with a gentle expression, "When I perished and True was born." Klein asked in surprise, was no one suspicious? If the deities knew that the ancient sun god had long been resurrected in Adam, the history of the 4th epoch would most likely be to besiege the Solomon Empire, the Twilight Hermit Order, and the Ammon family. Apart from True knowing about this, perhaps only Evernight had her suspicions, Adam said, his voice neither fast nor slow. "I disguised myself as a zealot wanting my father to awaken in my body. It's not difficult for a king of angels from the visionary pathway to do so." Then Medici, Klein suddenly felt pity for the Red Angel. Thinking up to this point, he lowered his head to look at the blood-stained wooden stake on his chest. He felt that he deserved more sympathy. Adam said calmly, "It was a necessary sacrifice." "Why do you think he can remain alive for so many years after becoming an evil spirit without being discovered. Klein fell silent for 2 seconds before asking, "Are you going to let me wait just like this?" You can also choose to leave this corpse cathedral, but Zeratul will be waiting for you at the entrance. In your present state, you can only become his marionette, Adam said without any emotion. Klein fell silent as he read the remaining contents of the second blasphemy slate. In the fog sea, the dawn silently sailed through the undulating blue waves. Bernadette suddenly opened her eyes and sat up. She frowned and picked up an item on the table. The item was completely golden in color, and there were mysterious symbols engraved on its surface, making it look like a miniature water flask. This was sealed artifact 005, Magic Wishing Lamp. Bernadette held the wishing lamp and bowed her head as she chanted an honorific name. The fool that doesn't belong to this era. The mysterious ruler above the gray fog. The king of yellow and black who wields good luck.